Shalom, I give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kwadash, double honors to our apostles and elders, a great millstone with salutations to you sincere brothers pushing his word out across the four corners of the earth. This is an article from WAPT.com, and the title says, Affidavit, Mom drove into river to kill self and kids so no one else could have them. And this happened in Lawrence, Kansas. It says court documents released Wednesday in the case of the mother charged after driving a vehicle into the Kansas River with her children inside, so she told police she did it intentionally. Sharon Diggadine has been charged with first-degree murder in connection with the death of her 5-year-old daughter and attempted first-degree murder for injuries suffered by a 1-year-old son. In the case affidavit released Wednesday, it says Lawrence police were sent to the area of Powerhouse Road at the Kansas River on Friday, August the 3rd, after receiving reports of a vehicle in the water. When they arrived, officers could not see the vehicle, but could see debris on the top of the water. Officers then saw a head break the surface of the water from a person who appeared to be struggling. Police entered the river to try and get to the individual who was approximately 30 feet from the shore. While in the water, police saw an infant's diaper floating by. Police were able to grab the person who was struggling. The individual was later identified as Sharon Diggadine. An officer asked Diggadine if there were others in the vehicle as she was being dragged back to the shore. Diggadine reportedly kept repeating something to the effect of, "Let me die." Diggadine eventually told police her baby was in the car, that her 2-year-old daughter had come out of the car and was in the water. Around that time, another officer emerged from the river carrying a small child in his arms. That child was rushed to an ambulance. Diggadine also said her 1-year-old son was also in the vehicle and that he had come out of the car and was in the water. Documents say Diggadine was then taken to the hospital as emergency crews worked to locate the second child. At the hospital, Diggadine reportedly told authorities that her 5-year-old daughter and 1-year-old son had been in the vehicle with her, but when questioned about the children, Diggadine shut down. Doctors at the hospital told police the 1-year-old had been pulled from the water and was dead upon arrival at the hospital, but had been revived and was on life support. Several hours later, emergency crews were able to pull the vehicle from the water, but the 5-year-old child was not located. The young girl's body was recovered the next day. She was identified as Diggadine's daughter, Amaya Bradley. The affidavit says when interviewed on Saturday, Diggadine told police she had been involved in several domestic incidents with her boyfriend since Monday of that week. At one point, she had been voluntarily admitted to a psychiatric hospital for several hours. After that, she returned to her home and was going to go to a shelter, which her boyfriend agreed to drive her to. Diggadine said they stopped for drinks. When her boyfriend went into the store, she took the car and her kids and left Columbia, Missouri. That was on Thursday afternoon. She went on to say they drove to Mexico, Missouri, where she stole a Chevy Equinox from her home and drove to Kansas City. Once in KC, she and her children spent the night in the vehicle before driving into Lawrence Friday morning. Diggadine said she drove around the city that morning feeling depressed and worrying about the consequences of her actions from the day before. She explained she was considering taking her own life, and at one point she drove down to the river and parked her vehicle. She said her 2 children put their feet in the river and played. That's when Diggadine said she thought the river would be a good place to kill herself. She decided then she was going to kill herself and her children because she didn't want anyone else to have them. Diggadine told authorities she ultimately decided to drive into the river knowing neither of her children could swim and would likely die. Both children were in the front seat unrestrained when she reportedly drove into the river. And that's the mind frame you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans pinpoint on the women of our nation. Shows you how careless that they are as a people, as adults, you know. So this so-called nigger woman drove around contemplating what she was going to do by taking her own life. Then she came to the idea when she reached by the river that she was going to kill her kids as well. Shows you how selfish the women of our nation are. And that's just the majority. Not talking about all women, but majority of them are. But all this goes back to the curses that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshua put on our people. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans who consist of the 12 tribes of Israel. Only those curses fit us as a people. And we can see it live today, man, what's going on. So this Deuteronomy 28:15, but it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And as you read through the article, one of the curses are right here in verse 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which will not adventure to set the sole of her feet upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye should be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. And she intentionally drove her children into the river so nobody else could have them. It shows you how careless, how inconsiderate she was, or she is, you know. And that word for careless, let's look that up in the free dictionary. It says, taking insufficient care, negligent, marked by or resulting from lack of forethought or thoroughness, showing lack of consideration. That's what a great example right there, what she did. It's showing a lack of consideration. Like, if you feel like you're going to take yourself out, I mean, it's against the scriptures, you know, but go ahead and do it. But why involve your kids in something like that as well, just because you're going through it? And that just shows you how heedless and inconsiderate the majority of our women are in our nation. So this is Lamentations, the 4th chapter and the 3rd verse. Even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people is become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. And one thing about female ostriches, they'll lay their eggs in the sand, and they'll cover them up for protection. Then like minutes or maybe hours later, they'll come back and step on those eggs. You know, it just show you how careless, you know, female ostriches are. And that's what Yahweh Shah compared to the daughter of his people to. Ostriches, female ostriches.
Ostriches are the largest living birds. They cannot fly but are outstanding runners, able to reach speeds of about 40 miles an hour. Ostriches are usually polygamous. A male mates with 2 to 4 females in a season, as well as a main female, or hen. During the mating season, the black and white coloured male defends its territory against competitors. He chooses mates from the greyish-brown females from neighbouring areas. During the courtship ritual, the male's skin blushes pinkish red. He flaps his wing feathers, makes a booming noise, and strikes his head against his back. A receptive female lowers her head and body and holds her wings away and pointing down, allowing the male to mount from behind. Five to 10 days after mating, the females lay their eggs in a communal nest. If ostrich family groups meet, they behave in a way that is unique among birds. A parent from one group charges at the second family group and examines their offspring. The gregarious chicks and juveniles are reared in compact groups. Likewise, a parent from the second group runs at and examines the brood of the first pair. Confident, aggressive birds stand with their heads and tails high and the body tilted upwards. Submissive birds hold their heads and tails low. The adult birds clash, and it may become so heated that in the commotion they will run over the chicks. The stronger pair takes the other's offspring into its own brood. Although this may seem like a burden on the newly extended family group, the larger group reduces the risk that their own chicks will be captured. Not all chicks will survive to adulthood.
So let's get Matthew, the 24th chapter, and the 12th verse. And because iniquity should abound, the love of many should wax cold. And that's why we keep seeing all these different inhumane acts and just wickedness going on every day of our lives. You know, every time you see something on the news, it's something wicked or something that's satanic going on. Why? Because this is prophesied, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And through the Spirit, we can see that it's only going to get worse. Pretty soon, when all hell breaks loose in America, when that economic collapse happens, it's going to get even way worse than this. That's when you're going to have even the women of our nation, a lot of them going to be eating their children. This was prophesied in the scriptures. And it's a future prophecy is going to happen. You know? So it was just a quick article right here from WAPT.com, you know. You can find it. I'll leave the article link in the description box. It says, you know, mom drove into a river to kill self and kids so no one else could have them. That's why it says Isaiah 32 chapter, around the 9th to 10th verse, you know, Yahweh Bashiach Shah called the daughters of our people, you know, he said, rise up, ye women, you know, give ear to his voice, pretty much. You know, he called them careless. You know, it just shows how the majority of our women of our nation, they lack consideration. And we see that, man, through different type of events going on in the news. And this is a perfect article that matches up with that scripture right there. They're careless. They're inconsiderate. You know, they negligent. They only think about themselves. Shows how selfish they are, you know. So it was just a quick article right there. Hope it was edifying. Like, give all honor and glory again to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak, Wadash, double honors again to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to you, sincere brothers. Shalom.